everybody, and thank you for joining us for these in-person interviews for the next president of TCAT Murfreesboro. I'm April Preston, the Associate Vice Chancellor for HR at the System Office. I'm sorry, my voice is a little squeaky today. It's one of those, Murphy's Law. If it's going to happen any day, it's going to happen when you're speaking. We have two candidates today who will be joining us, Joy Rich, Patrick Wade. Joy is our first candidate of the day. We are recording the interviews and making them available on the TDR HR Presidential website. So if you're unable to stay for the whole interview or you missed, just want to watch them again, you're welcome to do so by going to that website. We're also invited to provide feedback, and a survey is already up there. Please go ahead and do that. With that, our first question comes from our chair of our Personnel and Compensation Committee, Bridget Green.
Good morning, Joy. Welcome.
Thank you.
To one of the final rounds, so congratulations for that. And from everyone that's here and all of our board regents, we'll kick it off with these questions. So very informal. Thank you for being honest in your candidacy and sharing more about you and why this role. So my first question is why you for our next TCAT president here at Murfreesboro?
That's an excellent question, and thank you for asking that. Before I begin, I just want to thank everyone who's joining us online and everyone who's here with us today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I see a lot of familiar faces. I have a lot of friends in the room just from the 22 years that I have been working in education. And I guess I'll answer the question by walking through that. So 22 years ago, I started my trek towards today as a teacher at Riverdale High School right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I was a high school marketing teacher for 15 years, loved every minute of that experience. But I realized I had more to give. I had more influence. I had more impact to make. So I made the jump out of the classroom in 2015. And from there, I had the opportunity to work for the Tennessee Department of Education as a CTE consultant, as the Bedford County CTE director, and then to TBR as the director of experiential learning and their Skills USA state director. From there, I came to Motlow, where I live today as the Assistant Vice President of Workforce Development, which I love what I do today. And all of these experiences have given me a full scope of the education spectrum. I've seen it from the high school teacher side. I've seen it from the district side. I've seen it from the state level. And now I see it from the community college perspective. And what I know about TCAT Murfreesboro is we are at the crux of what's happening in this region. Everything that's going on in industry, everything that's going on in K-12 should be running through TCAT Murfreesboro in some capacity. Several of you see at your stations my 3P approach. If you're in the back, feel free to look at this, or I can hold this up for you in true teacher fashion. But why I should be your choice goes into this 3P approach, because I sat and I started thinking about the president of TCAT Murfreesboro has so much responsibility, and they have so much opportunity, and they have the ability to change the lives of those people who live in this community. And there's so many facets to consider. And so I put it into this 3P approach, which I'd love to reference now, and then we can reference it throughout the rest of our conversation. But the focus as president are our pipelines, our partnerships, and our excellent performance. And so as the president of TCAT Murfreesboro, it's very important that we're opening those pipelines in every direction. We're bringing K-12 in through dual enrollment. We're bringing in our justice involved community. We're connecting to our post-secondary partners, Motlow and MTSU. Beyond that, though, it's our partnerships. And I think that's what makes me really unique. Because I moved here in 1996 to go to MTSU, I started forging those relationships and became part of this local fabric in 1996. I have been here for 26 years, creating relationships, forging those partnerships. And I think that's going to be very important for the TCAT president to be able to hit the ground running. I already know the landscape. I already know what's going on in the positives and what we can improve upon. So those partnerships are going to be very important. And then the third P is performance. What are we doing to create student success opportunities? That is our customer. Our students are our focus. What are we doing to not only get them here, but to support them once they're here? Are we getting them involved in Skills USA? Are we giving them work-based learning opportunities? Are we showing them how to write a resume and nail that interview so that what we're training them gets them the job that they need. What are we doing on all of those fronts? So pipelines, partnerships, and performance, you'll hear me talk about that quite a bit this morning. But those are just some of the key components I think that make me right for this position and why I'm interested in this position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll open it up to any other questions. And if you're watching remote, you're welcome to type them in the chat and I'll come for you.
Not all at once.
Okay, since no one's speaking, we'll go with silence.
Okay. You.
Good morning, Tori. My name is Shelley DeBerry. I'm the Allied Health Coordinator. And I have had the privilege of sitting through your initial interview. And I've read through your resume and I'm all about choices. And I know that this is kind of nerve-wracking to come into one of these. So I'm a girl of choice. So I'm going to give you a choice of questions.
Wonderful.
Would you like a serious question, a hard question, or a fun question?
Let's go with fun.
Okay, fun. Music is important to me. That's why it gets me through the morning to come to work and to go home. Now, this has nothing to do with your job, of course, but it's fun and you chose it. What was your first concert and what are you currently listening to in your vehicle?
My very first concert, 9 years old, Amarillo, Texas, Reba McEntire. She changed outfits 15 times and I was floored by her ability to capture the audience. Very involved with music. I love music. That is a passion. What do I currently listen to? Everything. So not only do I listen, but I'm a karaoke savant. So everything from big band blues music to Christian contemporary music to Reba McEntire. So I have a very diverse, eclectic music background and current music taste. So I hope that answers your question. Shout out to Reba McEntire if she happens to watch
Do you
this
want to
video.
ask the other question, Shelley?
Oh, I have a bunch.
I can take your serious
Everyone else
ones
can
too.
go. That's
Yes.
fine.
All right, I'll jump in with a heartfelt question.
Great.
All right, so thinking about, you talked about where you live now. Thinking about your living in higher education, what's your proudest moment? What has been the thing that has really stood out to you?
Wow. Oh, wow. There's a lot. I'll speak most recently. Most recently, I came up with this idea called the American Hero Expo. You would know about this being part of MALO. One of the things that I feel like I am most successful in is building bridges, connecting students and industry, connecting partners, just creating those opportunities. I'm also very much a visionary, and not just a visionary, but I'm a doer. So when I have a big crazy idea, I know how to turn around and make it happen and to get people on board to do that. So one of the most recent, exciting, most proud moments was the American Hero Expo. We had over 600 individuals there, 400 high school students from Rutherford County who were criminal justice, EMT nursing, and IT cybersecurity students. And they were taught by our local American heroes technical skills in their particular pathway. And then they were able to go through an entire simulated experience that was put on by our local heroes. So we had over 25 different first responder agencies, police, fire, EMS, TMA, Red Cross, creating this experience for these students. And why that makes me proud is it shows a lot of things just about me. A, my ability to cast a think big vision, as I call it. B, the ability to get the partners together and on board and buying in and realizing if they want to make an impact on their future employment pipeline, they have to invest in the students that are in today's classroom now, right? So getting that component. And then C, that connection to the teachers and to the students to make them want to come to an event like this. And so when those students left that day, they were so excited about their futures. They were so excited about the possibility of becoming a first responder, of becoming their own American hero. And so our partnership with the National Guard and all of those agencies, it lives on. As a matter of fact, in 2 weeks, we're already having our planning session for the next American Hero Expo. And when we do events like that, yes, it's for our local community, but the bigger picture is how can this be scaled and replicated to affect the nation? So that's part of what we did. We had a documentary created by Stewart's Creek High School students. We've created a playbook of exactly how we made the whole day come come to fruition. And then our partnership with the National Guard, we're sharing that out across the country with other military groups of how can they work with their first responder agencies, their K-12 schools, and their post-secondary partners to put on American Hero Expos everywhere. And in doing so, they're creating career exploration opportunities, career training opportunities, and we could essentially close the employment pipeline gap just by this one idea and replicating it. So that's probably my most current, exciting, proud moment, I would say. Thank you for the question.
We have a question online.
Okay.
What is your vision for continued and future business TCAT partnerships?
Vision for continued and future business partnerships, okay? So just like my reference in American Hero Expo, our American heroes teaching our current students. So the exact same holds true with business and industry. Our current business and industry leaders should be the ones determining what is being taught in the classroom. They should be leading that charge and mentoring our instructors so that high quality education is being provided to everyone. So I'm a big believer in business and industry partnership because we have their future workforce sitting in our classrooms today. So I personally believe in having collaborations frequently, collaborations that are going in depth, collaborations where it's open and transparent, where they're speaking the truth to us of, you're not doing this right. I need you to do it this way. Okay. Or you're doing this great, keep doing it that way. And so for me, our business and industry leaders, that is who's going to support everything that we do. Even when it comes down to talking about like our TCAT wait list, I know that that's a huge issue of how do we get people in? We don't have the space. Our business and industry leaders have space. A lot of them have training facilities that are going unused. So talking to those industry partners and saying, Bridgestone, NHC, Ascension, can we partner with you? Do you have available training space where we can provide the trainers, we provide the instructors, we get you the students, we work together on what those equipment and costs are, but we utilize your spaces to shorten our wait list and create you an immediate pipeline of employment. So that's, I guess that would be the way I would answer that question, is just integrating industry wholeheartedly into what we're doing and not let them be an afterthought. They need to be on the front end of our conversations and they need to be taking an active role in what we're doing.
Next
Dr.
question.
Rich, I have a question for you. It's multi-part.
Great.
Of course, you know me, right? So the county, Rutherford specifically, is really complex with the businesses and industries that are available. What we've created together in terms of pathways, junction with business industry partners, as well as the chamber with the county schools and our higher education partners. So let's say that I was able to partner with you as Motlow and TCAT Murfreesboro, and we were given $6 million. I mean, we know the high five focus areas. We know that there are 11 others. How would you go about utilizing those funds, and how would you determine where those funds will be best served based on your own imagination?
Well, it's funny you asked that question, Dr. Florence, because I was actually part of a committee that was working on a $5 million grant to do this exact thing. And the piece that I recognize that we're lacking in this area is transitions. Transitions from K-12 to post-secondary, transitions from post-secondary to other post-secondaries within our area. So one of the ways I would like to spend that money would be on transition coaches, having intentional people who are hired to help students in the K-12 setting recognize what opportunities exist and help them support with the K-12 counselors to transition them into the post-secondary setting that fits their specific career needs and their aptitudes and their desires, right? But then once we're in this post-secondary landscape, those transition coaches that take a student maybe who graduated from TCAT and cosmetology, who has an aspiration of becoming an entrepreneur, how do we transition them over to Motlow, where they can then have their entrepreneurship degree, take the information they gathered here to be a cosmetologist, automotive technician, HVAC, et cetera, and apply that towards a degree at Motlow and learn how to run their own business. And it could be 5-10 years down the road, they're in a position where they need a bachelor's degree to become a regional leader or director. All of that then should transfer with them to MTSU. So one of the ways I would spend that $6 million would be simply on manpower, specific targeted transition coaches that are helping the students make the transition down that pipeline. So we know we have multiple entry and exit points, but a lot of times students don't know how to navigate those entry and exit points. So that would be one of the key pieces. Going back to the question right before this one, I would go to industry. I would ask industry, what do we need? What is the equipment? What is the training? What are we missing? Where is our gap? And they would be the ones to drive what we purchase and how we spend that money. I have no business saying, oh, we need to start such and such program because I like that. That's not data-driven decision-making. So bringing those leaders to the table who are hiring our students, asking them, what does the workforce need, and having them advise us on how to spend that money. That's how I would do that.
Thank you.
We have another question online.
Okay.
How do you plan to increase student enrollment specifically for Rutherford County schools? And there's the comment goes on to say there are many who do not currently know about the programs offered at TCAT.
Excellent question. I'm glad that question was asked to me because I have thought a lot about that particular question. So I mentioned early on, I was a high school marketing teacher at Riverdale High School for 15 years. I have two children, Gabe and Grace. Gabe is a graduate of Rutherford County High School and Riverdale High School, and he's a current student here at TCAT Murfreesboro. And then my daughter Grace is a sixth grader here in the Rutherford County schools. So to me, it is very, very important. It's like part of my core that we have got to give students the opportunity to know that TCAT exists and what you can learn here. And it goes all the way back to the elementary grades. We need to start taking the bus out back around and showing them all of these opportunities when they're young, second, third grade. We need to be engaged in their summer camps, as we talked earlier, the summer camp opportunities. We need to be taking advantage of fall break and spring break to go show the younger students. But let's go to the K-12 at the high school level. Very simple strategies. There's one I like to call the Each One, Reach One campaign. So we currently have a little over 700 students enrolled at TCAT Murfreesboro. If each one of our students were encouraged to reach one additional student, that would double the population overnight. And it can be very simple. It's not a very expensive process to do. So I'm gonna give you an example. This presentation I have here, the 3P approach. I have it in a business card. Have a little QR code on the back. You can scan this and go to my website and learn all about me. But let's just imagine this is a TCAT Murfreesboro business card. And let's just imagine you scan this QR code and it takes you to this really engaging video about all the cool programs that we have here at TCAT Murfreesboro. And then there's a Google form in the YouTube link that says click here to find out more. And when I put my name in and I say Joy Rich and I'm interested in learning about cosmetology and I learned about it from Tyra Pilgrim and I submit that, then Tyra's name goes into a little drawing. And maybe once a month we draw a name out of the hat and we give away a $100 Amazon gift card. All of a sudden our TCAT students, they're marketing our programs. They're marketing our college. They're excited because we're going to put their name in the hat to draw for a gift card, right? So they're being recognized for that. But who better to sell another student on TCAT than a TCAT student who's already bought? So that's one of the ways. The other way is through dual enrollment opportunities. So currently we have 0 students in Rutherford County high schools that are enrolled in dual enrollment with TCAT. Oh, Barry's corrected me. That was according to a data source I received. 1%? Up to 5%? 5 students. Okay, I'm corrected. So we have 5 students in Rutherford County who are in dual enrollment. We have 13 high schools. We have a population of 360,000 people who live in Rutherford County. If we did nothing but have 50 students from each high school enrolled in dual enrollment, we would double our numbers right now. 50 students, that's 1 automotive class, 1 cosmetology class, maybe an EMT class. Okay, so there are ways very quickly to get dual enrollment active and in place. And what does that look like? Because of my previous roles in TBR, I have seen the landscape of what's happening across the state. I know in TCAT Pulaski, they have almost twice the amount of students in dual enrollment as they have as their full-time students. How do they do that? They place TCAT instructors in their high schools. They open up their doors for high school students to come during their school day to their TCAT campus. They partner with businesses to create opportunities, like I mentioned earlier, for students to get that training. So some very simple solutions can easily create opportunities for dual enrollment students to come to us, for students to be exposed early and often about what TCAT is and what their programs are here. And all of that can be done literally at a low cost, no cost solution.
Good question.
Go ahead.
President takes this role, will be my partner effectively in this county. I don't know what expectation would you have in terms of professional partnership between our two offices, our two institutions? Take it from there.
So obviously I work for Motlow, so obviously Dr. Torrance and I already have a great working relationship. I would expect and want that we talk about the programs and the needs in this area, and we figure out how to create those articulation agreements, how to create those pipelines, how what Houston's doing in EMT for you right now can support launching EMT here at TCAT, how those students who get the basic EMT certification can go right on to you for the advanced EMT certification in paramedic. How do we fill gaps? You have locations in this geographic area. I have locations in this geographic area. How are we capitalizing on our resources? How are we bringing our industry partners together? You shouldn't have a separate industry council and me have a separate industry council. We should be having an industry council of what does our community need? Greg Jones at the chamber. Greg, what does our community need? How can Motlow do that? How can TCAT do that? How can our friends at MTSU do that? How are we all working together to fill the needs of this community? So I would just say our communication will continue to be like it always is, and probably even more so, the back and forth of idea sharing, possibility pondering, and just looking at new ways to do things. You and I are both trailblazers. So there's ideas that have yet to even be thought of, right? That once we're sitting in a room together and we're looking at a problem, with our two minds, there's no telling what we'll come up with, not only for ourselves, but something that we can then share across the state and even across the country as a problem-solving solution opportunity for people.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We have a diverse student body here at TCAT Murfreesboro. What are some of your ideas to promote student engagement and success?
Oh, Barry, I'm so glad you asked this question too. So when I did my doctorate research, it was on the recruitment and retention of minorities and females into apprenticeship programs. So in conducting that research, I took a global perspective of how are we recruiting minorities and females into programs. And we've learned that there's a lot of barriers. There are so many barriers that are keeping minorities and female students from even considering post-secondary education or even getting into an apprenticeship. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is creating a family type atmosphere. So we call it the Motlow family. I will refer to it as the TCAT family. Simple things for students. And I'm going to give this example because I literally had this conversation with my son Gabe just a few days ago. Creating things like Friendsgiving for our students. Are we doing something on this campus for all of our students, to add a dish kind of thing, to celebrate Thanksgiving with them? We call it Friendsgiving. A lot of our students don't have a lot of support at home. They don't have specific families, traditions that they can relish those experiences. So are we doing something like that? Are we doing fun things, costume competitions? Are we having lunch and learn events where they come in for lunch and they learn something? What are we doing just to create that family style culture at TCAT, both for the students and for the teachers? Because when you're part of that family, you want other people to join the family, right? So that's one of the pieces, is just creating a culture of acceptance, a culture of networking, a culture of just being who you are. It's okay to be exactly who you are. Come and show that to us, and giving everyone a voice and what that looks like. So when I say Friendsgiving, it would be something that I would look back to the student body and say, what do you guys want? What would make things awesome for you? Is it every trimester we have some kind of festival? Is it that we have movie nights? Is it that we have an Easter egg hunt out on the lawn and you bring your children? What does that look like to you? Because learning is so much more than what I'm getting in the classroom. It is the social components. It is all the pieces that make me a whole learner, a whole student. And then how are we bringing industry into that? Are we having industry come to those nights and they're setting up like, hey, you know what, you're here to do an Easter egg hunt, but did you know we're also hiring? You can have that opportunity so that you're blending in career opportunities with just fun engagement and creating that family culture. So I hope that answered your question. I kind of went around a little bit, but that's kind of my vision for that. Okay.
Okay, you've talked about your connection with the community and with industry and promoting schools and with the students. But as a new kid on the block to this campus myself, how would you plan to incorporate you into the existing faculty?
Infrastructure. So great question. So anytime I have ever started a new role, when I started as a CT consultant for the state, or when I was the Skills USA director for the state, I believe in what I host a meet and greet tour. Start with just my notepad and a pen, and I literally go meet and greet our faculty, our staff, and I ask two questions. What's going great and what could go better? Right? And so I spend that first bit of time literally just person to person from who is keeping the facility looking as amazing as it is, to the instructors, to the ones who are talking to the students front line, to the ones who are going out and doing the recruitment. What's going great that we're all happy with, and what could be better? And that's where I will form those relationships with the TCAT family. That's where I'll get the ideas of, okay, where do we need to go next? And that's where I will learn what's already working well. There's no need to reinvent a wheel if it's already working. And so that's how I've always approached a new position, and that's how I plan to approach this one.
Hey, Joy, I have a question. I love your enthusiasm and your excitement. But as President Torrance mentioned, this is a really big impact, especially for Rutherford County. There's lots of population growth. Tara could probably talk about the dynamics that are changing, Greg, that are changing almost daily.
Mm-hmm.
So when you kind of cast your vision for the school, what's a little scary? What's your challenge that you think, hey, I've got to get my hands around, and how do you plan on doing that?
So our population is exploding. You know, we're one of the fastest growing counties in the country. Everybody in this county is trying to keep up with the demand of the population. And so with that, I think the wait lists are a big deal. We don't want to promote programs and then we can't get people into those programs. So I think first and foremost, it's me learning the people who are teaching these programs, what's working, how many of them have wait lists, how many of them need more students to come into that, right? And so my plan on that is to focus on the programs first that we need to provide more students in, and that creates immediate opportunities while we're forging those relationships with our K-12 schools to utilize their labs, their spaces in the evening, or with our industry partners to utilize their spaces, so that then we can successfully promote those programs. Because I don't want to increase our waitlist issue, promise all of these wonderful opportunities for training just to have to tell someone, sorry, we don't have room. Right? So to me, that's probably one of the scariest pieces, is to make sure that we do have open pipelines into our school. We don't want to promote it and then the pipeline's actually closed. So to recap, I would focus on those programs that we have space in, but side by side work on creating avenues for how can we expand the location, the space, the capacity, the time of day, et cetera, for opening up those other programs. And then once that's all in place, I would say, come one, come all. We want to have the capacity to serve our community, and we know that it's growing so fast. We can't even keep up with housing in this area. And because I've lived here since '96, I've watched it. I told someone the other day, when I moved here for college, they were just building that super Walmart on Old Fort Parkway. Veterans didn't even exist. So because I live here, because I'm part of this fabric of this community, I'm very aware of the needs. I'm very aware of the issues. I'm very aware of just the diverse groups that are coming. And I want to go back to what you just asked. Our ESL population, our at-risk population, What are we doing here to support those populations? So are we providing translators? Are we providing ESL support services? Are we partnering with our American Job Centers and our adult ed programs to create those opportunities? So while we're bringing them in and we're getting the capacity for the programs, how are we providing the services to the unique individuals who are coming to us? Thank you.
Next question falls along nicely with that one. You had mentioned earlier the American Hero Expo.
Yes.
So that event catered mainly to secondary students, which is great. It involved dual enrollment possibilities. What ideas do you have like that one that will cater to the students at TCAT and Murfreesboro?
Yes, I'm so glad whoever asked that question. So the American Hero Expo model is simply utilizing the individuals who are currently in a career and having them teach those who will be in that career in the future, right? So that can be replicated and scaled over and over again. So I'm going to use, we're in a health science room right now. That could easily be something that we have our hospitals, our long-term cares, our EMTs, anyone that's in the healthcare industry, hosting our own version of an American Hero Expo targeted towards our health science students so that they go and they get training in the morning and then they're put into a real life simulated situation, whether that's an emergency room, whether that is a mass casualty type scenario, whether that is a first responder EMT kind of experience, but giving those students the real life training that they need provided by individuals who are currently in those roles. And the reason why that's important, not just for the training they get that day, but the mentorship opportunities that they can form with those industry partners, with those career leaders. Because if I'm a nursing student and I have someone who's teaching me that day who is a nurse, let's say over here at St. Thomas Rutherford, but then that person says to me, if you want to do some job shadowing or you want to look at an opportunity to come learn more about what we do, here's my contact information. I now as a student have that person's business card and I'm like, I have a direct line to somebody at Ascension. It's like gold to them. So creating for every sector that type of event where not only are they getting training, they're getting a real life experience, but they're creating opportunities for mentors within that industry, which is going to lead to their career success. Because what we know as employers, there's an employment gap. They're all looking for employees. Our students are all looking for jobs, right? So creating those bridge opportunities, that's what I specialize in, is taking those who are looking for the jobs, those who need the jobs, and creating opportunities for them to connect. And that would be how I would handle the current 18 programs here at TCAT. And I would say, not even just us, I'd call my friend Dr. Torrance at Montlow. I'd call our friends at MTSU and say, why don't we get all of our nursing, EMT, allied health students together and make this a really big event? Our National Guard friends, they've said they'll host anything we ever want to host on that base. And they too have all of these careers. So I think just continuing on what we started with the American Hero Expo and just expanding that to all of the career cluster areas is how I'd handle that.
I have my last question. That's okay. People are the most important component of what we do. We just have different boxes that we put them in. Call them employees, call them the dark side, administration. We have faculty, we have staff, admin, and obviously students. In regards to fiscal responsibility, thinking through your budget, thinking safety and security, I'm curious of the things that just my eyesight today, knowledge base, things that need to be taken care of, or things that we need to get prepared for based on the allotment of resources that you have, and the safety and security that you believe is necessary.
So I know that TCAT has about a $9 million budget, $8.9 million budget, and that's not counting any funding that's coming down from the governor's office for the TCAT initiatives, for the wait list initiatives and so forth. And so that question reminds me of just my experiences in workforce as a Skills USA director of managing large budgets. How do we identify the most pressing needs? How do we identify what is out of date and needs to be updated? How do we look at our human capital resources? Do we need more teachers? Do we need more facilitators? Do we need more recruiters? Will we need to have more adjunct instructors who are placed inside of our K-12 systems? And so my plan for all things related to fiscal responsibility is not to do it in a silo. I will seek guidance from our previous president. I will seek guidance from you. I will seek guidance from Chancellor Tidings. I will seek guidance from that infrastructure that exists of how to best navigate those waters, because I want to be fiscally responsible. I don't want to frivolously spend money on things that are not giving us a large return on our investment. I want to make sure that we have safety and security at the forefront of our mind for the students who are here, for the faculty that are here, for the individual in the community who will come onto this campus or that we will go see through our various opportunities. So I think the roundabout way of answering that is it won't be just me by myself answering those questions for the budget and for the fiscal components. I will once again bring in my mentors, bring in our leaders, and we will discuss how that money is spent. I will also ask from our teachers. This was something that I actually implemented in Bedford County. I will ask for our teachers to submit their wish list every year around Christmas, New Year's. What is your wish list? If we could wave a magic wand and you could get X equipment, what is that? And give me a link to it, kind of thing. And so as we're looking through not only the budget that's allotted to us, but as grant dollars become available, we have that wish list. We know what they need. We know what they want. I know TCAT needs an EMT lab. I know they have space allocated to it, but I know they don't have all the equipment for it. So that would be one of those things that we would have to look at in this particular budget. How do we make that happen? We make sure that we're not taking too much away from anyone else just to focus on one particular area. How are we considering the whole college in that choice?
Thank you.
Another question. The economy in Middle Tennessee is thriving with economic development announcements being made weekly. We have an abundance of new high-skilled jobs being created. How can TCAT support these economic development activities and be an asset for new employers locating in the area?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So one of the most important jobs at any college is a career services person or persons, because every single person who comes to a TCAT or to a Motlow or to an MTSU, they're there to ultimately get a job, right? We are the throughput to get them trained to get to the job of their dreams. And so what are we doing in the career services space to not only make sure that they know how to be a cosmetologist or be an automotive technician, but what are we doing to bring employers onto our campus so that they can go with their resumes that we've helped them create to market themselves to those employers? What are we doing to teach students how to interview for that job? What are we doing on resume writing workshops? What are we doing on teaching them how to tie a tie and dress for success? So what are we doing on our side of the house to get them ready to meet those employers? But then what are we doing with those employers to connect them to our students? And so we have literally right next door, the American Job Center. They're having a job fair today. They were putting the signs out as I was coming in. How are we partnering with them to be part of these job fair experiences? How are we partnering with our Chamber of Commerce for job opportunity experiences? So for me, I believe it's very important that we open the doors to industry, whether they want to have a table in the lobby and there's a different person every day and students can come by on their way to class and drop off applications, or if we want to host once every trimester a very specific job career fair by program area, or just holistically. And so I think opening those doors, opening those pipelines to industry and welcoming them to our campus, welcoming them into our programs and creating those intentional opportunities for them to connect with our students and our students connect with them, that is how we're going to support those new businesses.
Question. Describe an ethical dilemma or situation you've experienced in the workplace. Explain your role and the roles of others involved in the situation. Give examples of the approaches you took to solve the situation.
Oh gosh. Think an ethical dilemma. Whoever sent this one in. Okay, an ethical dilemma. It's a little challenging. Okay. I have one I'll go for. So ethical is one of those things, what's right, what's wrong, right? And so how do you handle situations that don't automatically have a black and white, this is right, this is wrong answer? So I'm going to use an example of someone that I worked with. And this individual was performing subpar and they were being very negative and casting a negative vision of the organization to the community. And so I had to make a choice as to whether or not I was going to allow that to continue to happen, or if I was going to address it. And if I was going to address it, was I prepared to recommend this person to no longer be with the company, or was I prepared to mentor this person? And so I chose to confront the individual, to talk to them about why were they doing what they were doing? Why were they saying what they were saying? And when I heard their side, it helped me understand them a little bit more. I didn't necessarily agree with what they were doing or how they were doing it, but it helped me to understand them. And so I made a relationship with that person off of something that was a dilemma, right? And we formed a bond from that. And then I became their mentor. And I mentored them through how to navigate stressful situations, mentor them through their negative feelings towards people or towards situations. And now this person is a very productive worker. They have a great attitude, and they're someone that I would rely on and consider a friend. So I think that would be an example of just when you're faced with a situation, don't hide from it. Don't run around talking about it. Just face it, and face it with not just your mind, but with your heart. Like, have empathy for that individual. Try to understand all of the components that are going into why that's happening or why they're acting that way. Because when we see people through our heart, we have more empathy, and we can make a better situation out of that. And I think that's always just the human factor of knowing everybody has a story, everybody has background. If someone's acting a certain way or doing something, there's something causing that. And so taking that time to just get to know the person, to find out what that root cause is, and then coming up with a plan to solve it and to gain their trust so that they'll allow you to mentor them and will allow you to speak into their life. And so I think that's the best answer I would come up with for that particular one.
Sorry, well, I do have one more.
You said the last one was your last one.
Let's have one more. So, lifting my partner down at the end of the table because they got to ask a fun question, so I want to ask. And it might not be that fun because
Fun for you.
I'm an academic and I like academic things. So I'm really interested in what are you reading right now that you find enjoyment out of?
That's a great question. So I will tell you that I just finished the One series. It has nothing to do with academics, but it is something that's looking at the world in the future and where it can go and what happens when people do not hold sacred the things that we have, right? And so I find enjoyment in reading that, because it's a little bit of distraction from my normal life, but it's looking at humanity and how humans impact the world. They are the world, right? And so when we lose sight of the fact that humans are what make up our college, humans are what make up our community, humans are what make up this workforce that we're all striving to fulfill, then we've lost our whole vision. And so I think that book series right now is one that just reminds me of the importance of humanity and treating everyone with respect and treating everyone individually and looking at their skill set and looking at their aptitude and how can they be the best version of themselves in the world that we live in. So I don't know if that answers your question the way you wanted, but that's my answer.
I'm just sorry, I didn't think that was a fun question.
It's so fun because I'm like, what am I reading now? It's on my nightstand. Yeah, it's the One series.
All right.
Describe your experience in technical education.
So I have been in career and technical education for 22 years. So as I mentioned earlier, as a high school instructor for marketing, entrepreneurship, but then from there as a CTE consultant and a CTE director, and then the state Skills USA director. So I have eat, slept, and breathed. That's not right. Past tense. I have lived current technical education my entire life. As a matter of fact, it goes back to when I was 15 years old. I was a high school CTE student. I was a state officer for DECA, if anybody knows what DECA is. That started my transition and my passion for career and technical education because it changed the trajectory of my life. My experiences at 15 years old. That's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about getting into our K-12 schools and showing students these opportunities, because I recognize what we do will influence the futures that they have. So I literally have been part of career and technical education since I was 15 years old. I won't tell you how old I am now, but let's just say that's been a long time.
Okay. Life after Torrance, I said it was my last question. I have one more. Since you mentioned your 15-year-old self, that brings me to my other choice in my fun question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to yourself at 15?
I would tell my 15-year-old self to do exactly what I've done, to pursue my education, to pursue opportunities, to never burn a bridge, to be nice to everybody, to treat everybody the way that you want to be treated. Everything that has transpired in my life has made me who I am today. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The skills that I have come from training that I received. The personality that I have comes from the way I was raised and the things that I've done along the way. So I believe, I always say to people, if I always treat people the way I want to be treated, I'm never going to go wrong. If I am always who I am authentically all the time, I'm never going to have anyone accuse me of being one-sided. So I would tell my 15-year-old self to do exactly what I have actually done, because I'm very pleased with the product that I have produced over the last how many years that we're not going to mention. And even anything that went wrong, even through the wrong, I've learned something. So I wouldn't want to take those pieces away, because that's what refines our edges. That's what makes us human and makes us relatable to people. I might tell my 15-year-old self not to lay out in the sun as much. That might be one thing.
You mentioned the word product, and it just brought this question to me. TBR has just been so nationally recognized for all the growth and strategy and vision that's been implemented. When you think about TCAT Murfreesboro, what do you want folks to know? What is our product?
I want, when people think of TCAT Murfreesboro, that they know we are producing an excellent product, that if a student graduates from one of our programs, that they are guaranteed to be a fully trained, capable, competent person who can fulfill their job duties and obligations. I think knowing that we have quality programs that produce successful students is key, because industry is not going to trust us to train their employees if we're not producing a quality product. And with that, I use the phrase the total package. When I used to teach high school students, I would say it's not just knowing how to fix a car. It's not just knowing how to program a computer. It's your total package. And when I refer to a total package, that is, how do you speak? How do you walk? How do you shake hands? How do you carry yourself when you think no one's looking? What does your social media look like? How are you working with your cohorts at school? And how are you working with your partners at work? And how are you working with your employers? So I think not only the Quality Success Program, but that we are producing the total package in our students, that they have the soft skills, they have the technical skills, they have the workplace skills, and that is what employers can come to know, that if they want a quality employee, they just need to connect with us.
I have another question.
All right.
The community college is slightly different from the TCAT. Do you foresee any challenges in moving into this role?
No, absolutely not. Because of my scope of coming from K-12, working at TBR, I worked with all 40 TBR colleges. So that includes all the TCATs and the community colleges. So I'm very aware of how the clock hours work. I'm very aware of the trimesters. I'm very aware of all the certifications and things that are needed. Obviously, because I have not been a TCAT president, I will look towards my mentors. I will look towards other TCAT presidents, our previous president, Dr. Puryear, to mentor me as I'm learning and navigating through those fields. But no, I really don't see that that's going to be anything of concern.
Well, thank you for letting us know that you're a reader and you can read and maybe listen to a little Reba McEntire. But obviously your commitment to growth and pouring into our students, our faculty, our staff here at TCAT Murfreesboro. So we will wrap it up. Do we have any lasting questions? Anyone from the audience? No? I think they are all playing Reba McEntire.
It's fancy.
Or maybe the judge.
I like the judge
Yeah,
too.
she's just here on
Yes.
But just tell us once again why we should select you as our next TCAT Murfreesboro president and leader.
Excellent. So as I've mentioned before, I believe I am your best candidate for this position because I am part of your local fabric. I have been here for 26 years. I know most of you in this room by first name. I know about your kids. I know what you do every day. I know you're passionate. I'm passionate. You can be around me for 5 minutes and recognize that I'm passionate about what I do. I'm also a visionary, and TCAT Murfreesboro has done some great things, but there are so many more great things on the horizon. And I believe I'm the person to help realize those possibilities and to put action to plans to make those come to fruition. So I just feel like I am your best choice for your candidates, just due to my connections here and my ability to cast a vision and to see that come to fruition and just the relationships that already exist. I'll be able to hit the ground running. It won't take me a year to figure out who the players are in the room because I already know you guys. And we'll know how to, we've already been talking about what needs to be going on and how we can go ahead and start moving things forward. So I appreciate once again for you guys allowing me this time to talk to you, for asking fun questions and serious questions and well thought out questions. And I hope that I gave you just a good overall picture of who I am as Joy Rich. Thank you.